I'm here today with Lydia Tom, the board chair and one of the founders of AAFE, to really talk about AAFE's development as a community builder. After really having a forceful experience of organizing for employment rights and as a tenant organizer, why the evolution into becoming a community builder?
So the origins of AAFE were to really provide a voice and speak for the community that had been marginalized and been silenced and been disinvested in. And for many years, people tall in this community, isolated in this community, but also grew in this community, but weren't getting a fair share of resources. And whether it's construction jobs on the most publicly supported housing development ever in Chinatown, not having job opportunities for people from the community, or looking at service needs of residents in the community not being served. Year after year, every winter, there's a lot of fires in Chinatown. We have old little tenements that are just fire traps, and when heat and hot water aren't provided adequately, there tend to be fires in these properties, and very often the families are displaced. Red Cross may come in, but there's nothing in the community, a place for these people in the community to be able to transition to an interim before the properties get improved. And very often some of the owners don't even have an interest. They are welcoming an opportunity. They have a vacant property that they can then turn to market rate housing. And over the years, we've realized that it's not enough to advocate, that we also need to begin to provide for the community. And there was no one building affordable housing in Chinatown. We said we need to learn how to do this for ourselves. And other communities across the country are similarly looking at becoming community builders, not relying on others, whether it's the private sector or the public sector, to take on these responsibilities. And so we didn't know a whole lot about housing development. We said, we can learn this. It took a lot of effort, but I think it was rewarding to see that we could do it, but also it gave us a reality about how hard it is to put something like this together. We were able successfully to get some city-owned properties that were vacant and get as much finance as we could from the state. We want to do permanent affordable housing, but we have seniors and they have needs. How can we provide housing for the seniors here? And we said, okay, there are families that are dislocated by fires and things like that. Can we provide transitional housing or housing for formerly homeless? And so we got finance from different sources to try to make this one project an ideal project, where the reality is there's different streams of funding for each kind of effort you want to put into the kind of housing that you want to build.
And so it seems, even though you're not able to realize putting all of those different uses into one single development, where we are today is maybe thinking about within our community, providing those different types of housing in the community, right? So that you have permanent affordable housing, but then we also have other facilities that provide transitional housing for families that are displaced. Can you talk a little bit more about why that type of housing is still needed today?
When you think a lot of the people who end up being homeless were the single individuals or families, they tend to be people living in communities that don't have the best quality housing. And they tend to live in private housing or on the margins of not being able to pay rent. And very often people want to stay in their own communities, and particularly when we had these fires, people were very hesitant to go to the hotels the Red Cross would provide them, whether it's Midtown and another borough. They were used to coming to this community, shopping in this community, having the kids go to school here, and being able to access their jobs here. It's important that we provide opportunities for a spectrum of housing in the communities where people are living.
And Lydia, in your role at Enterprise, I think you've seen lots of examples of how important integrating resident services into affordable housing can make an even deeper impact in the lives of people who live in affordable housing. Can you talk about why resident service integration and providing wraparound services to people who live in affordable housing is important and the impact that it can have in people's lives?
All the folks that AAFE serves, and you can speak more closely to this since you're on the ground, is that people have individual needs. Families have different household needs. You might have seniors, you might have children, you might have people with mental illness and need support, and it's, people are afraid to even ask for this kind of assistance, or they may need help with rental assistance. With COVID, there were people who were losing their jobs or made to work part-time. and they couldn't make their rents. And so it's not enough to just say we need our rents to run the building. We also have to put a hand out and say, what can we do to help you? What are your needs and how can we support you? It'd be great for you to expound on what AAFE is doing about some of the services that we're doing.
The pandemic really, I think, provided an important opportunity for us to really integrate property management at AAFE and community services at AAFE together. And during the pandemic, the property management team and the community services team came together to really help connect families to food, to medication, to rental assistance. And even though the pandemic is starting to sort of fade, what we're finding is still we have more and more formerly homeless families being placed in our housing, and that helping them address their rent arrears, their financial stability is only the beginning. Oftentimes there are other sort of root causes or issues that they're struggling with that contribute to their financial instability. And so we're finding already that, by bringing these two teams together, they're more effectively helping to address some deeper problems that families are facing. Yeah, so thanks, Lydia, for really helping us connect AAFE's history to the work that we're doing in the present, and really helping us understand both the need for us to continue to build different forms of housing to really meet the urgent needs of low-income families in our community, and why this work is so important today.
Well, it's rewarding seeing the spectrum of work that AAFE is doing and making such a difference in all the communities that we're trying to make a difference in. So thank you for your work.
Thanks.